out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Welcome into Southwest Bias, the only debate show with actual consequences. We got a great match for you guys today. Let's meet our master debaters.
Today's matchup,
Craig
versus Espo.
As you guys can see, we did not have one for Craig, so that was myself making the noise of Craig. So let's get right into it. Gentlemen, let's keep it clean, but let's see what our first question is. All right, you guys know the rules. Minute 30 on the clock. Espo, we'll start with you. ASU kicks off its football game tonight, first game of the 2022 season. A lot of people think they're a sleeping giant in the sports world. What do you guys think? Espo, minute 30.
First off, thank you, Craig, for debasing yourself and ruining your journalism career by being here to take me on in Southwest Bias. But look, ASU is a sleeping giant. Tempe is a beautiful city, a great education. You've got everything that you could want. And yet that's a U of A guy even saying great education. You've got everything you could want to recruit kids here to the Valley. Tempe, Scottsdale, it's places that college kids want to hang out. You can sell this city. The problem is they haven't had the right head coach there ever to actually sell it, either in basketball or football. Where you got to invest is there when it comes to coaching. Bring in the big name, bring in the great recruiter, and they could sell Tempe like nobody's business, but they've never done that. There has never been the right coach. Todd Graham, Herm Edwards, these aren't guys. Dennis Erickson, you've gotten guys that are past their prime or never were in this role. If you have a great recruiter, you can turn Tempe into a great basketball school, a great football school. You've already seen it in hockey. You've seen it in softball. They can do it in the big sports coming up if they get the right recruiter.
That's an adorable take, Espo. I've been covering Valley sports for 26 years. This narrative was around before I arrived, and yet it still has not transformed into reality. You know why? Because it's not grounded in reality. It's a fantasy for fans and fanboy, fangirl journalists who avoid objectivity like top national recruits avoid Tempe. You know which programs succeed in the only revenue sports, which are football and basketball? Programs with fertile recruiting grounds, programs with big money donors, programs with a big brand name, or programs that represent the only thing to do in town, an experience that you can witness by driving 2 hours south of the Valley. Despite the homerish takes of local prep and recruiting writers, Arizona is not a top 10 market for football recruits, and it's even lower for basketball. When you don't have that recruiting ground, you have to rely on your big brand name or big name donors. ASU does not have the big brand name of Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA, most of which can also rely on those fertile recruiting grounds. And it doesn't have the heavyweight donors of schools like the aforementioned or even Oregon. Hello, Nike and Phil Knight. Just ask the folks in ASU's athletic department on the down low about the nickel and dime nature of most of their fundraising, and they will tell you. Maybe that's why Michael Crow has decided he doesn't want to spend top dollar on coaches and winning, instead in choosing to spend on the student experience as he crafts the new American university. In Crow's tenure, ASU has grown by leaps and bounds on the academic side.
Espo, you got 10 seconds.
That's a university's primary mission.
Look, if that changes and you spend on the coach, you're going to get it, especially if that new arena happens in Tempe and the basketball team is playing in a high-quality facility. It's a game changer. The Sun Devils can be one of the top places to go in the nation.
All right. Well, just a reminder of the chat, we will open up voting right at the end of the show, so make sure to vote. It's in the YouTube chat right to your right. But for now, let's get on to the second question. Twitter announced on Thursday they'd finally be testing an edit button. Is this something you guys want to see on Twitter? And do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Craig, we'll start with you, minute 30 on the clock.
All right. The New York Times reported this today, that Twitter's rolling out an edit button whose function will last for 30 minutes after a tweet. It's about damn time. Critics argue that in this age of misinformation, writers of truly offensive or egregiously false takes will be able to change their language and claim it was all a misunderstanding. Whatever. Twitter will allow readers to track the changes. So if someone is so careless as to post something that heinous and then try to walk it back, claiming they meant the opposite of what they typed, we'll all see right through it. You don't have to craft that sort of tweet without knowing exactly what you're doing. So even when Bloomberg's Matt Levine says, oh, trolls could post a harmless tweet about puppies and then drastically change it, then when recruiters are looking through your tweets and see you retweeted something heinous, they might not hire you. Simple explanation. The tweet was changed, as the history will show. Look, this is really meaningful to me as a journalist. We're in the business of accuracy. Some of my fellow journalists are against the edit button, and yet if there's an error in there or a typo in their story, they'll absolutely go in and fix it. This will not destroy the modern world, as some of my pearl-clutching colleagues claim. It will make it better. My eyes twitch when I see an old tweet of mine that has a glaring typo or an omitted word in it. I even think that Twitter's 30-minute time limit is too short, but it's a step in the right direction toward accuracy.
Craig, that is such a Pollyannic view of the world. Like, do you really believe that people are going to take the time to dig into the history of a tweet to understand what was originally said? No, people will buy into anything that's put in front of them and they're sold to believe in. An edit button is a horrible, horrible idea for many reasons, that one in particular. If you are not willing to look long enough at your tweet to make edits or make sure it's factually correct, that's on you, brother. Delete it and repost it, or live with what you put out there in the first place. It is a slippery slope if you start letting people edit their original takes on Twitter, and you really are overestimating how people can handle themselves, how people will buy into things. We've got complete non-facts being believed as facts in this world now, and you think people are going to take the time to try to understand what was originally sent? This is dangerous, it's irresponsible, and it's a waste of Twitter's time. There's better things you could be doing on the platform.
How much time do I have to respond?
You got 15 seconds.
15 seconds. You know, Espo, I have more faith in my fellow human beings than you do, apparently. And look, I'll just put the information out there and I'll let people do what they want with it. It's there. The right information will be there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, I have absolutely no faith because I've watched what's going on in the world, and I don't trust anybody to use any tool that's provided to them in the way it was intended. We bastardize everything that comes out, even if it's supposed to help humanity, including an edit button on Twitter.
All right. As a reminder to the chat, we got a vote coming up. You got a minute to vote, but first we got to get to our last question, so let's see what that is. We see it all around, tanking in pro sports. Earlier this week, the D-backs top prospect Corbin Carroll finally made his long-awaited debut after years of losing for the local baseball club. Over the last few years, we've seen the Coyotes and Suns follow similar paths, but is it necessary to win in this market? Espo, we'll start with you, minute 30 on the clock.
No, and there's one example. The one team that freaking won in this market and won a major title and is the Diamondbacks in 2001. And you know what they did? They mortgaged the entire damn future, spent money that they didn't have to bring in players, and they won the damn title. The Mercury, people will bring up the Mercury. Have you looked at their lineup over the years? They stack the deck. They bring in players. They do what it takes to get it done. That's what is required here. Nickel and diming this stuff is not going to get you to a title. It won't work for the Coyotes. It won't work for the Diamondbacks. And it really didn't work for the Suns. They had to bring in a 35-year-old point guard making $44 million to even turn them into a contender. This is not, tanking is a dangerous, dangerous game that winds up failing more than it succeeds, and it's not going to work in this market to get it back. The only thing that'll work, spending on your damn team. If you're a cheapskate owner, get the hell out of the valley and bring in somebody that's willing to spend top dollar to bring in top talent and win. Drafting is part of it, but you also have to be willing to spend, and that is what has turned this market into what doesn't work in most cases. You're not going to win by tanking and hoping that you can magically find your own way to a championship. You have to spend to do it, and the one major title in this town is what they did. They spent big time, and they brought home the trophy with the Diamondbacks.
Did you just go back 2 decades for your proof? Wow. I think Shane was still running around in cargo shorts with no shirt at that time.
He's still doing
make
that.
The argument that nothing that Valley teams do will matter. If it weren't for the Mercury, we'd have one major championship in our entire history. Shut up, Rattlers fans. So nothing has really worked to date. Tanking to build a winner is a relatively new phenomenon, and in the sport that I cover, it works. The Penguins tanked and won 3 cups with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin as their draft lottery prizes. Tampa tanked and won 2 cups with Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman. The Blackhawks tanked and won 3 cups with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. 2 of those markets weren't exactly flush with cash, while the Blackhawks, that's a topic I'd prefer to keep between me and my therapist. It'd be nice not to have to go this route, and it doesn't always work. Just ask the Toronto Maple Leafs, who haven't won a playoff series since Facebook was launched. Unfortunately, Valley teams aren't flush with cash to buy their way out of the problems. The D-backs aren't the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, somehow the Cubs are not on this list, who can ensure annual title contention by spending 5 to 6 times as much as other teams in baseball's stupid world of no salary cap. The D-backs have to draft well, catch lightning in a bottle, lock up their youngest prospects early enough so they don't become the Marlins who have to sell everything off after winning the series. In football, it makes sense if you got a franchise QB because QBs are everything in football. But even the Suns are testament to the power of tanking. It took them a damn decade to get it right, and they still haven't captured the elusive Larry O'Brien trophy. But they're a contender thanks to tanking. For that reason, they're the most popular team in town.
They are not a contender for tanking. Marquise Chris,
3 seconds.
Dragonbender,
2, 1.
You can cherry pick anything you
Okay.
want, Greg.
All right, guys, that is the final round. We're going to open up voting to the chat. And of course, voting time is sponsored by my mustache once again. Guys, why don't you go ahead and tell people about my mustache? Got a minute and a half to.
That stash ain't trash. It's a thing of beauty. It's one of the reasons that PHNX has been so damn successful in year 1 is because the mustache behind the Mac. If Shane didn't have the mustache, he'd just be some weirdo with a goofy looking face. But the mustache gives him credibility. And that's why we here at Southwest Bias appreciate Shane's mustache and its sponsorship of the show.
Espo, that's the only thing that we've agreed upon today is Shane's mustache. Shane's mustache is epic. And, I feel like mustaches went out of style for a while. They were underappreciated, but I like the fact that they're coming back. And I like the bravery of a guy who's willing to wear the stash and not have to go with the entire goatee look or the extra beard or whatever it is that like every male under the age of 40 is wearing these days.
Thanks,
Good
Greg.
on you, Shane Diefenbach.
Thanks, Greg. Now I got to go shave the rest of my face and just leave the mustache. I love Shane's mustache so much. Last Halloween on the Sun Show, I went as Shane with the mustache. That's how much I love Shane Diefenbach's mustache. So you know what? We agree on this, but the people better agree that my arguments were vastly superior to yours today, Greg.
All right. I'm closing the vote early because once again, it's a murder. The winner of Southwest Bias and new Craig Morgan.
This. There we go. How about that?
It's rigged. I demand a recount.
All right.
This is a creation of my own, and I get screwed almost every time.
Let's get into the punishment time and see what the guys have to do.
Punishment time.
Craig, go ahead and let the people know.
Speak it? Okay.
Go ahead.
So Espo, of course, I grew up in Chicago. So the punishment for Espo is to explain why the 1993 Suns with Charles Barkley that went to the NBA Finals against the Michael Jordan-led Chicago Bulls never had a snowball's chance of winning that title. I don't care when you do it, Espo. I don't care when you finally speak truth to the deluded in the Valley, but it's about to come out.
I will do it today, Craig, because I'm a man that when I have to do something, I make sure I take care of it and pay my debts. So I will do it today on the program. So if the Sun Show is on tonight at 6 p.m., don't stop by. No, it's at 2. You can come hear me debase myself because Craig brought in all his hockey gangs to help win his vote here today.
All right. Well, this show is live every Thursday at 11 a.m. right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow our socials at PHNX_sports. Make sure to follow Espo at Espo, Craig at Craig S. Morgan, and me at Shane Deef. Watch PHNX Daily Bets every Monday through Friday at noon, by the way, coming up today as well. And we'll see you next week. Peace.